Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 719 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, August 21st, 2025, and it is a bit of a great day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and cubs, how's your mental health today? I'm still doing well. Had a lovely evening yesterday. Got to play a little bit of tennis. Got my butt gift wrapped and handed back to me because I played one of the better players in the club, which it always does happen. But I like to test myself against them now and then. Didn't manage to win a game. Came close a couple of times. Twice I had the lead at 40, but he was able to catch up. And I think 3 times I did manage to get to deuce. But he's just so good. Last year was the first time I won one game against him. So I was hoping to be able to um, make that happen again. And I came close, especially still with my foot, but it did not happen. But I ran and I sweat, which was good because, you know, your beaver could stand to lose a pound or two. So, so it was a good evening. Oh, for some reason, there's some extra noise. That's a little weird. Uh, I'm not sure if you guys heard that, Kits and Cubs, but for some reason at my end, what I just said 30 seconds ago was bouncing back in my audio. So hopefully that didn't translate back to you. But if it did, I am so sorry about that. And I'm sorry about the visuals for some reason. They're a little jerky today for some reason. I'm not sure if it's the internet connection or the platform, but you know what? We will muddle through anyway. And I know that you will understand that sometimes tech not as smooth. So hopefully the jumping image and won't detract too much from the show today. So yeah, after that, took a shower at the club, and then went downtown to go treat myself to the new Naked Gun. And so had a good time there. It's nice to see Pamela Anderson on screen doing what she does best, and it was a had a couple of belly laughs. So that was good, and came home and prepared today's show for you. So, great evening. And actually, it's really interesting because a couple of years ago, our tennis club redid the whole clubhouse. And this was the first time I had actually ever used the showers at the club because I just usually just get on my bike, come home, and take a shower. But given I was going somewhere else after, actually I had to call the club during the day. Say, "Are they still open at 8 p.m.?" I said, "Yep, no problem. Good. Um, do I need to do anything to get in? Because if there's a code on the door, I have no idea. Nope, the stewards will be there. Okay, fine, good." So yeah, they did a really nice job in the renovation, and it's nice to be able to shower right there at the club, and then go on and do your next thing. I just had to make sure that I had packed a change of clothes. So I didn't want to be in the movie theater, potentially sitting next to someone, and you know, when sweat starts to get stale, it has an odor. And I would have did not want to impose that on fellow theater goers. So, yeah, very convenient. So I had a lovely evening. Um, Treated myself to some popcorn and all that good stuff because what's a summer movie without popcorn, right? So yeah, I treated myself and had a lovely evening. Still missing my beaver sweetie terribly, but 10 days to go before I get to see him again, and I am counting the days. Even though we get to talk to each other pretty much every day while he's been away, I'm still counting the days. I miss him a lot. So I'm doing the best to keep myself busy and distracted. Anyway, kids and cubs, enough about me. Let's see about you. Who's here? We have Kit Elaine saying good morning, everyone. Kit Tavi G also saying good morning. Kit PNC Bio saying good morning, everyone, as well. Kits and cubs. Yes, the 7:15 start. Don't worry, that's not you. That's me. Just needing a little extra time because I'm still trying to catch up from the almost all nighter from the Alberta by-election special. So my clock is a little off, and I'm trying to get myself back up uh, to a regular bedtime. I'm a little off, and therefore I just need a couple more minutes in the morning because it's a little waking up's a little harder than usual when you throw yourself off schedule like that. So and I am getting older, so I can still get down, but I need a little bit more time to get back up. So no, you didn't miss anything. Nothing's changed. It's just that I'm trying to get myself back on a regular schedule. So just needed some extra time. Who else do we have here? Kit Moan saying hello and hello to all the family. We have Kit Grace here saying good morning, everyone. Kit Cassie is with us, waving and saying hello, good people. So is Playing with 3D. Good morning, folks. And Kit Saucy singing good morning as well. I see that people in the chat are already talking about the subject of the day. Pierre is like a yapping chihuahua barking at people on the sidewalk walking by the house, says Grace. Yeah, that's I refer to him as a yippee chihuahua as well. Who else do we have here? We have Nona Carol saying good morning with a wave. Hello, dear one. So nice to see you with us this morning. We have Kit Argosi Acres with us this morning, already with some commentary about Pierre. We have Kit Wishful saying good morning as well. We have Kit Cap W wishing good morning, everyone. Uh, Asking why do we always have to talk about Pierre? Today we have to talk about him because, well, he won, and we want to see if there is any growing or changing and how he makes his new debut. It is newsworthy, and I apologize for all of those who are triggered by the sound of his voice, but we're going to be hearing a lot of it today. So, a pre-trigger warning, I guess. It's dirty work, but it's got to be done. It's got to be done if we're going to be informed. All right, who else do we have? We have Kit Linda M wishing us good morning, and good morning to you. Thank you so much. We have Hyper T 007. Bon dia, Chienche. I think I remembered it. Hopefully I got it right. And who else do we have with us? Oh, lots of comment. You have been busy, kits and cubs. Really? We have Toronto Dan. Hi. I hope your podcast yesterday or video cast yesterday, I think was at like 9 or 9:30 p.m. or something, went very well. We did what we could to help draw attention to it, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. And it's nice to see you here this morning. Who else do we have here? I think I said Kit Uncover, but if I haven't, Kit Uncover is here, bringing us the news in the chat. Lots of updates, and the news from all over. And I think that might be everyone. Just making sure if anybody else is sliding across the plate at the last second. Kit Frank saying morning, morning to you, sir. Kit Sharon here saying good morning. Fabulous, damn fam. Of course, we're fabulous. What else would we be? We have Breens here. Hello. Nice to see you. Saying morning fam dam. I like that. A little flip there. That's always fun. And oh, Kit James is with us. Hello. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope you are doing well. Wishing us good morning here. And let's see, whatever. Yeah, Kid Hyper T. W. Okay, asking. Yes, Argo C and Kid Hyper T. How was it? Do I recommend it? Yeah, I do recommend it. I'm older that when I saw the ones with Leslie Nielsen, so my it takes a little more to get me to chuckle, but like I said, there are there for me personally, there were the 4 or 5 good outright belly laughs where I and some of them, everybody finds different things funny. So some of them, it seemed like it was only me laughing every now and then. Uh, but no, I do recommend it. In the same vein, it's just silly. Um, it's dumb, and that's a compliment for this type of thing. So yeah, it's a I do recommend it. I do recommend it. Uh, especially especially these times, right? Things so such doom and gloom that just a little silliness hits the right spot these days. So yeah, if you want to laugh or two, uh, I would recommend it. It's a good time. We have Kit Ryan with us saying, "Good morning, good people." We have Kit Bucky with us as well, saying, "Doesn't mind the late start because they're always coming in late." Well, thank you. See, it's nice to be able to to at least hit with some people. Miss is here with us as well. Uh, so lovely to see you this morning. And wow, there's still a lot of there we go. Kit Sue is with us. Good morning. Nice to see you. And Kit Chris as well. I haven't seen you in a long time. I hope you're doing well. I know you needed to take a little bit of time to take care of some stuff, but you're back, and we've missed you. Or at least I've missed you. So, and I'm sure the damn fam has too. Nice to see you. Uh, hopefully, send me a DM. Let me know how you're doing. All right. I've been wondering about you. And who else do we have here? Oh my God, you are talking today. Wow. Okay, keep going, keep going, keep going. There's a lot of scrolling to do here today, kids and cubs. All right, well, here, given that it's keep going here, I think I caught everyone, but I will keep looking while I start the show because this is the long. I got to the end. There we go. I think that's one of the longest magic monitors I've had to do. Okay, kids and cubs. At some point, there's going to be so many people in the the chat that I probably won't be able to do it in full every morning because that will be the show. And good morning to you. That's the end of our show. All right, kids and cubs. Yes, we are going, as I mentioned, we are going to be talking about Pierre this morning. Um, said he won in the Battle River Crowfoot. Um, he is painting this as a big achievement. I mean, winning an election is a big achievement, but this one has an asterisk next to it because he's claiming it as back in the saddle, except that he had to steal someone's horse to do that. So that's one. Um, and then, of course, I jokingly ask because I keep on seeing that Roman Danilo skit in my head where he's on the horse backwards and like tapping it on the button, sort of like pointing to the tail. Do you pull on this to start it? So, uh, yeah, back in the saddle. But yeah, but are you facing forward, Pierre? Just asking. Um, but yeah, painting this as some big achievement. Um, and, you know, uh, when you go into the safest writing possible and do the least amount of work possible, because hearing from what had happened on the ground, it seems like Damien Kirk did most of Pierre's great victory. Not so much. I did the math on the numbers, and Pierre did indeed get fewer voters per percentage of a vote, share of the vote received than Damien Kirk got. It's not a uh, huge number less, but it is less. And if you're looking at the, like I said, if you're looking at these numbers, the over 80% with over 50% turnout, I don't think these numbers specifically are going to provoke anything, or at least the narrative going into his leadership review that he did so terrible in Battle River Crowfoot that he absolutely has to go. Um, but he is the leader of the party, someone who aspires to be prime minister in one of the most talked about by elections in recent history, most covered by elections in recent history. And people can normally say that by elections don't get a lot of people. Okay, that's fine. Or elections that are foregone conclusions sometimes don't get as high a turnout. But in the previous general election, the turnout in that riding was over 75% for Damien Kirk, who still won with 82%. So in that riding, a foregone conclusion does not mean low turnout. So here, um, yeah, even though it was a by-election, you had the leader of a party generating much less turnout than just Damien, despite the fact that Damien campaigned for him. So while they are celebrating this, and we can't look at the numbers in terms of vote share and everything, turnout is a bit of an issue, because if the leader of the party itself cannot generate turnout, some people might want to ask a question. So that may become an issue at some point. Right now, everybody is high on the supply, so nobody's talking about that, and there doesn't seem to be any cracks at the moment. But if Mark Carney's numbers keep on uh, being as strong and Pierre's keep on being as weak, you never know. Not sure whether or not a return to the House itself, where he can get his clips and start being in the news cycle a little more often, will naturally generate a bit more buzz for the party and a little more popularity for him, and change the numbers either of his party or him personally, or his approval ratings up a little bit. But judging by the victory speech, victory in Skippy air quotes, and judging by his first press availability made yesterday, and of course, he remained in Battle River Crowfoot overnight to be able to make his first press availability after winning from there. As I drink tea. Actually, it's water, not tea. No, of course, he didn't do that. He was in British Columbia, in Surrey. So, yeah, couldn't get out of Battle River Crowfoot fast enough. Just saying. Uh, we'll see what happens. But judging from those two things, I if he gets a boost, it's simply going to be from his increased presence and visibility, because it's certainly not going to be because of a change of tactics, a change of tone, a change of strategy, a change of everything. Uh, Seeing what he's been up to since he won, um, it's the same old Pierre, same old leader, same old act. Same tired leader, same tired act. no change. Basically, it seems that he is treating this as he should have won the seat all along in Carlton, and he didn't, and it was a speed bump, and now he's gotten over the speed bump, and now we rejoin our regularly scheduled programming, and that's what it looks like it's going to be, kids and cubs. It's just going to be more of the same that we've come to know from him. The thing that didn't work for him last time. So, still everything is terrible. Still everything that is terrible in the world is the fault of just one man. That man is worse than the man who I blamed for everything terrible in the world before. So, and then once again, um, telling us all the ways that we are ugly and stupid and dumb and that nobody will love us. It's just same old Pierre. Canada's abusive boyfriend is back. Yay. So this is not going to be entertaining or engage or uh, engaging in a magnetic sense. The anti charisma is back. All of it. Uh, there is no growth. There is no change. There is no evolution. We have a one trick phony. And I'm guessing his attitude is that the trick he was trying to play almost worked. So if he tries it just a little harder, a little louder, maybe a little more strident, maybe a couple of exclamation marks, maybe a couple of extra all caps, who knows? Maybe this time it will work. I'll give him one thing. Uh, He definitely can stick to a plan. Problem is that we live in an age where more and more and more we need people to be nimble, and he's not. The man can't pivot. The man can't pivot, and once he's got a plan, he can't deviate it from it. He's terrible off script, and his range. Clearly, in light of all the evidence that he's gotten, that he needs to change something, and his inability or unwillingness to do so, and I don't know if it's a capacity thing or if it's just that he is so convinced that he is the smartest guy in the room and that he knows everything and he knows the right way and he's just not going to change. But um, it just seems to me that the attitude is there. Well, there's no way the liberals can win a fifth term, right? So let's just keep on doing what we're doing, and maybe it seems like just keep on doing what we're doing, and maybe Carney will screw up, and that will create an opening for me for these things to stick. Um, uh, Again, doing uh, doing the least possible in the easiest conditions possible for him, and hoping it's going to work. I don't see it happening. I don't see his brand of conservatism, strident and loud and complaining and punching down and presenting himself as the billboard who will be divisive in Canada at a time that we need unity, is going to play against um, the seeming calm and reasonableness and focus, deliberate focus of Mark Carney. We're going to have one heck of a battle of tone versus countertone here. And on all matters economic, I don't see how Pierre is going to be able to outbattle Mark Carney, because Pierre proved in the last election, just with the release of his platform, that he just does not have the economic chops whatsoever. So, on the economy, whenever Pierre speaks, and Mark Carney would speak after him, Mark Carney would essentially be pantsing him in public. So, I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot more of these red meat issues to the base, anything having to do with crime. Pierre is great at taking a tragedy and then exploiting it and blaming it all on one person. It's all somehow one person's fault. And it looks as well um, that it's going to be um, pointing to a problem, saying, "What a terrible problem it is," telling you who to blame for it, pointing you in that direction, and hoping that you will shoot, politically speaking. And if he does that enough, basically try to turn enough people against the prime minister, regardless of how well or poorly the prime minister is doing. In Pierre's world, the prime minister is always doing terribly, and that's what we're going to be. It's the same old, same damn old thing. No change. Very stale, which is sad. To give you an indication of this, one of the first things that Pierre tweeted after two of the first things that Pierre tweeted after becoming leader again should give you a little sign of what we are looking at with him. Uh, this here is the second of the two, the more recent one. And I'm just going to blow it up here a little bit on my screen to give you the chance to see it too when I put it up there. And again, Pierre, National Ambulance Chaser, ambulance or police siren chaser. So here's the first one. Joe Warmington of the Sun Chain uh, has a thing says, Warmington, Toronto has had too many people gunned down to remember every name. Chimes in with an 8-year-old child was shot and killed in Toronto in his own bed, and isn't the first time this has happened. Liberal laws, which Mr. Carney has done nothing to change, have allowed repeat offenders to terrorize our communities. Time to lock up violent criminals, stop the crime wave to protect our people. Of course, here we go. Pierre exploiting the tragedy of a child being killed in their own bed in order not to help the child, not to help the family, not to propose anything other than lock them up, stop the crime, uh, and blame Mark Carney. So the lost life of this 8-year-old child is nothing more than a cudgel with which he can hit Carney over the head. And I'm not sure what Mr. Carney was supposed to do to change the liberal laws, given the House was not yet in session. And I see that on the screen that did not get to the large size that I wanted. So I'll just fix that for you here and give you a little chance to look at that. As well, kits and cubs, uh, the first one that I saw yesterday had him dealing with, I'm sure, an issue that was so pressing that he didn't stop hearing about it at the door at every possible turn. But the National Post decided to put this article out yesterday, and it well, let's just take a look at the National Post, what they had to say here. BC nurse went to great lengths to enforce ideology that rejects science, argues Michael Higgins. Finding nurse Amy Ham $93,000, a grotesque attack on free speech, says the National Post. And Pierre decides to respond to this with, a nurse with a spotless track record gets fined and suspended for pointing out there are two genders and for praising world-renowned author and women's rights advocate J.K. Rowling. This is authoritarian censorship. We must restore free speech and free thinking in a free country. So, yeah, Pierre's big first internet priority here was basically um, a take two on the Jordan Peterson thing. Someone who is a medical professional who has taken an oath, is sworn to abide code of conduct and has did not do that and has been sanctioned, and Pierre Poilievre decided crusade. So when I'm saying same old Pierre, I'm not kidding at all. Literally, this is the entire outrage that the conservatives fed on for months with regard to Jordan Peterson and his professional body, trying to sanction him for doing things like uh, it's online, for example, that could be considered as counseling someone to unalive themselves while speaking in his capacity uh, as a medical professional. So, according to Michael Higgins here and the National Post, Amy Ham isn't just someone that to exercise free speech and its freedom of expression here, but the province's British Columbia's province of sorry, British Columbia's College of Nurses and Midwives are the people is the organization that has fined her. And Ham is a nurse who said that sex is binary and also helped pay to put up a sign in Vancouver that declared, I love J.K. Rowling. For these and similar crimes, Ham has been suspended from nursing for a month and ordered to pay the shocking and unjustified sum of $93,639.80 in legal costs. So clearly, this is more of an opinion piece with a very slanted bias here. With its punitive disciplinary decision, the college appears to be saying that you can either shut up or suffer what amounts to a $93,000 fine for exercising your right to free speech. But it seems that, as these articles keep on saying, she was prosecuted just for doing this. It seems that she was doing this in her capacity as a medical professional and not just as an individual. Had she just been saying it as an individual, that would be one thing. She could say whatever she wants, but she was attaching her credentials to it, which you cannot do. And while this person is saying that it is a scientific fact that there are just two genders, we all know that if you talk to a biologist, that is not the case. Gender is way more fluid. Uh, in the entire animal kingdom, including us humans as part of that animal kingdom. So, yeah, Pierre's first priority is to throw red meat to the base on the transgender issue. I have no idea why it is. It's an importance that he has to raise this case, elevate this case to national attention. But yeah, absolutely. And of course, they claim that it's a scientific fact that there's only two genders and that there's a war with biology and all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah. So, virtue signaling on the trans thing, uh, using the life of an 8-year-old child as a cause to blame Mark Crumb. This is gross. It's just gross. It's gross behavior. It's it's not constructive. There are no solutions. There's no plan, there's no policy. There's none of that. There's none of that at all. There's just, "Oh, free speech is under attack. Oh my god, liberal crime," and everything gets branded liberal something. It's liberal crime. And like I said, it's the same old song and dance. There's just no evolution, no growth. So anyway, uh, that's what he started out with. Uh, of herself, um, who put out some questions. I do not know right now if you can see me. Screen, but it seems that I'm still moving and freezing on the video. So this is clearly just my screen, which is good because I just wanted to take a check. So all right, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to let whatever appears on my screen appear and not be phased by it. And because it seems that you are not having any interruptions in what's being shown to you, and that's good. So yeah, we have um, the thing about this. Transgender thing that Pierre is talking about is also a bit hypocritical in that it wasn't that long ago that Pierre told his own MPs that they weren't allowed to comment about Alberta's transgender policies, speaking about Alberta specifically. Um, and there was a, article in the Globe and Mail. I don't remember from when, but the title was Conservatives Tell MPs Not to Comment on Alberta Transgender Policies, Prioritize Parental Rights, Internal Email Shows. And um, there's other clips from articles where it's stated here the conservative policy. If you repeat the slogans, you get rewarded, said a conservative source. You are celebrated in front of the entire caucus for being a good cheerleader, and you get more speaking time in the House and during question period. Those who refuse to parrot the lines lose their speaking time, another source added. And also, another one from Radio-Canada International in English that says, normally loquacious conservatives close up like oysters and dare not speak without their leader's approval. MPs are watched by conservative staffers both inside the House and Parliament. Elected representatives are publicly called to order for deviating from the party line. I think that these were articles that we read in to the record at the time, Kits and Cubs, when we were talking about how it is prior to the election that the party was maintaining party discipline and getting everybody to speak from the same songbook. It was basically threats, basically threats. So here we have Anna Poilievre basically posting to her uh, Twitter feed. And I don't know, again, if this is a tone issue. And I know people don't say, like, don't police other people's tone, that type of stuff. But not but wondering, is this the appropriate tone? Politics is up and down. People do it because they believe in something. It is built by people with strong conviction and fire in their belly, willing to sacrifice to fight for what they believe is right. It's not for everyone. It's not easy, but it is worth it. It has its ugly sides and its beautiful ones. Holding people in my arms at rallies, giving them hope is one of the most beautiful connections I've ever felt, aside from the connection with my children and family. It also has its ugly side, and she underlines ugly side and puts it in bold. Friendships come and go as if dictated by the poles. Just like the weather, people come and go. So remember, family is everything, and fighting for hope is still worth it all. We are the Poilievres, and we are built on resilience, courage, and love for you all. We're back. Kiss hug. Okay. It's it's a statement. Uh, it's not particularly focused on the people they intend or that they claim they want to serve, but there's nothing wrong with speaking of your personal experience. Not sure if that's the choice I would have made for my first public pronouncement. Uh, you know, politics has an ugly side, and friends come and go. It's like some people we thought were friends didn't turn out to be friends. but we're back. My choice would have been to express a little more external gratitude for the gift of trust that had been granted. But this is another way to go, I guess. And there might be a little bit more about Anna later in the show. So, kids and cubs, why not get to the stuff that clearly, as you can see, I've been trying to delay because I know the voice gets to you. It gets to a lot of us. And if it helps in any way, kids and cubs, um, just know that even though hearing it for the second time. So I try to listen to these things so that you don't have to, but sometimes unfortunately I do have to take some time to show you. So here we are, kits and cubs, Pierre's victory speech. To that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of whether or not I'm going to show it all, or maybe just cut in to some parts here, because I did take notes about for you, but I overwhelm you with Pierre particularly. So we're going to be looking at two things at the moment. I might be able to split them up with a little Bonnie to give you a break or some reprieve, so that you could take a breath in there. But we'll start with the victory speech, and we got the first few minutes, of course, has some things there are usually, but we'll go to the just take a look, and come in with an open mind, right? Leader, one would expect had been a little humbled by the previous result, from what we've heard in a couple of, and what we've seen in a couple reports that apparently after the election he was licking his wounds for a while and he wasn't very visible as a result of that. And again, came out and claimed that he was humbled and all of that kind of stuff, but we haven't seen much evidence of it. So let's just see for the moment what it is that Pierre has got for us here, and I'll just make sure that we've got the video feed up. There it is. And all right. And I apologize for having to expose you to this. Good evening, Turek. Giving some hugs to people that have probably helped him with the campaign. There's Nida next to him. Gives her a kiss on the cheek.
Thank you very much to the great people of Battle River Crowfoot. If I stand before you here today, it is by the grace of God and the good generosity of so many people, the first of which I must start with is my incredible wife, Anna. Anna, yes, give her a round of applause. Where did she go? Anna, you have been an incredible rock for our family. You've been the glue that has bound us all together. And to my kids, à mes enfants, Valentina et Cruz, vous me manquez énormément. Vous me manquez énormément. Yeah, my kids have been incredibly patient and understanding as Dad has been on the road a tremendous amount over a long period of time. And especially little Valentina, I haven't seen in a while, but I want them to know that we do this work for them and for all of Canada's kids. Thank you to the incredible Damien Kurek, who has made, thank you. whose gracious sacrifice has made this moment possible. He and Danielle have been filled with kindness and generosity to us. The story that most captures the essence of the Couric family happened at a tragic moment in their life. Last harvest, Damien lost his best friend and his father right in the middle of the harvest. And of course, this was a heartbreaking moment for him. He had spent his childhood basically being mentored by this gentleman who had taught him everything he knew. But then he had to ask himself, how are we going to get the crop off? 6,000 acres. And the leader of all of this work was no longer with them. And suddenly, dozens of combines from across Battle River Crowfoot appeared at the Couric farm and scattered out into the fields and brought home the harvest. Without asking for anything in return, these incredible neighbors, friends, and people perhaps they didn't even know showed up to give a helping hand. This was bringing in the harvest in more than one way, for the Couric family has planted the seeds of friendship across this region for over 100 years. And that the seeds of those friendships came home in that beautiful harvest on that day. And that epitomizes the great people of Battle River Crowfoot, for whom I am grateful that I will have the chance to be their humble servant, to fight every day and in every way for the people in this region who feed, power, and protect all of Canada.
So you will notice here, kids and cubs, that all the things that he has to say about the good people of Battle River Crowfoot are based on an example that happened to someone else and not him. Could that be because he wasn't there long enough to experience that himself? Who knows? We keep on.
These are the farmers, the tradespeople, the soldiers, the prison guards, the entrepreneurs, and so much more. Through drought and depression, through booms and busts, they've come through it all and they've never stopped. But this incredible region and its amazing people have suffered terribly over the last 10 years. I have seen the main streets that have been hollowed out and the trades workers who are underemployed because there is just not the work, as the federal government has attacked the oil and gas sector and favored foreign producers.
Okay, on that one, I don't recall any of that federal government favoring foreign producers. I do recall 10 years of conservative government where they kept on promising that there would be pipelines, all of them, pretty much all of them going south to the United States, which would make us more dependent on the United States, but one of them to Tidewater that the conservatives did not manage to get an inch of pipeline built because rather than complying with the Supreme Court, who told them that they had to consult with Indigenous peoples in order to get that done, and basically gave them a roadmap on how to do it so that what they wanted to accomplish would be done in a constitutional manner. They decided to take that instead and spin it as activist judges get in the way of progress, and those terrible activist judges, and fundraising off the promise of getting a pipeline built and fighting those activist judges, but not actually doing the work that was prescribed to them to actually get the pipeline built. They would rather have the issue of needing a pipeline and fundraise off it than actually getting the pipeline built, is what they showed us. Because they were just too good to be in the same room as Indigenous people and negotiate with them on a nation-to-nation basis. That's what happened. And then the Liberals came in and got the pipeline to Tidewater built and got the LNG terminal in Kitimat and everything built that is now bringing in revenue into the country. But the Conservatives didn't do that. Conservatives didn't build that. And when told how it is that they could build that, they decided that they weren't going to do that. So, and you will notice there he started talking about 10 years of Liberal, which is code for Trudeau, which he just can't seem to quit. All right, let's see what else he has for us in these few opening minutes.
This is the truth here in Battle River Crowfoot and in many communities across this country. Over the last 10 years, Liberal policies have sent crime, immigration, housing costs, inflation spiraling out of control. Now, they promised recently that things would be different, but under Mr. Carney and his 157 days in office, they've only gotten worse. There have been many announcements and meetings, many photo ops, and a lot of jazz, but not a lot of results. He sent everyone home for a summer vacation. He sent them home even though the deficit is spiraling out of control. Inflation is up, elbows are down, no resource projects are underway, and the housing crisis worsens as builders can't afford to build and buyers can't afford to buy.
Okay. Parliament is not in session, and I distinctly remember this guy back in 2008 when we were in the financial crisis not having any problem taking vacation when that was going on. But apparently, taking some vacation time is terrible. And all the vacation time that Mr. Carney took was essentially staycation time, and there wasn't that much of it because if you've been watching the show, we've been covering him, and he's been doing a lot. So I don't know where he's. See, that's what I mean. It's not deep thinking. He dared to take a vacation while there's trouble going on. It's Canada. It's a nation. We're talking politics. We live in a world. There's always trouble going on. There would never be a good time to take a vacation. Right? He is talking about there's no projects, there's nothing built. Well, yeah. It's like, you guys couldn't get a pipeline to Tidewater built in 10 freaking years, and you expect shovels in the ground on one in 157 days? Mark Carney made it very clear at that first Minister's meeting that the onus was on the premiers to bring projects. They haven't brought the projects. The office is being set up so that these projects can be done in a proper way. Yes, sometimes you have to do some preparatory work before you can do the work. Pierre is claiming that there exists some type of magical world where you can win an election and 150 days later, even though Parliament's not sitting yet, have a shovel in the ground on a major infrastructure project such as a pipeline. This reality does not exist. It doesn't exist at all. But he's there claiming that it does. And again, all these things that he's mentioning are all the fault of one specific thing: Liberal policies. Inflation numbers just came out. They're at 1.7% overall. But he's still crying about rampant inflation, all based on just Liberal policies, because there's nothing else going on in the world right now that's rising prices. This is not serious.
That's why us Conservatives have our work cut out for us. This fall, as Parliament returns, we will not only oppose out-of-control Liberal inflation, crime, immigration, cost of living, and housing prices, but we will propose real solutions for safe streets, secure borders, a stronger and sovereign country with bigger take-home pay for our people. We'll put Canada first, and we will do so in a way that will make our country self-reliant and make our people capable of earning paychecks that buy affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods.
So, if you heard that, they're slightly different words and they're in different orders, but there's still some slogans that have 4 points there. the axe the tax, fix the budget like this. He's got new 4 points, but it's still 4 points. And once again, talking about a variation on powerful paychecks that you hold in your hand while you're sitting on a porch in a country that's guarded safe streets. And like it's literally the same damn thing. No evolution. He goes into French for a little bit and then continues here. So in French, he didn't say anything new, was just repeating some of the stuff.
Ses objectifs. We are going to be ready to work with any party to get these results. We need stronger take-home pay for our people in Battle River, Crowfoot, and across Canada, because people can't afford to live. They tell me the same story everywhere I go. Canadians now spend 42% of their income on taxes, more than on food, clothing, and shelter.
He smiles as he's saying this.
Combined. And Mr. Carney's deficits are actually bigger today than the ones that Justin Trudeau left behind. More money for bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, fraudulent refugees, less money in the pockets of the people who earned it. We will push to cut waste and cap spending so that we can bring down inflation, debt, and taxes.
And here's the thing, again, the budget hasn't been tabled or passed. None of these are Carney's decisions. And notice, he did not say more money for defense and more money for soldier pay.
We believe that Canadians deserve low taxes and bigger paychecks so that food and homes are not luxuries, but once again, the things that people can take for granted. You work hard for your money. It's time that your money started working hard for you. And transportation is one of the biggest costs to get around in this country. It's a big country, a cold country. How many came here in their electric car today? Not many.
All right, transportation. That's a rich one because if you remember during our interview with Sarah Spanier, Damien Currick, who was the MP for the region, that riding had access to $10 million in funds that would improve transportation, public transportation in the riding so that people from some smaller communities could get to other communities either for work or medical appointments or just to enlarge their social circle. And Damien Currick went around the province preaching for that funding in other ridings, but not his own because, we're not allowed, just as was the case with the Housing Accelerator funding. Pierre Poilièvre put out the order to his MPs to not apply for the funding so that the Liberals could not get a win, putting party over the people, the needs of the people that they intended and that they pledged to serve. So this one is particularly rich coming from him.
Anybody driving from Provost or Oyen and in your electric vehicle? Hardisty, from Hardisty? No. You might be on the side of the road right now. And yet in 6 months, Mr. Carney expects to have an electric vehicle mandate imposed with $20,000 per vehicle taxes applying to any vehicle above his mandated quota. This is a direct attack on rural life and on the cost of living in Canada. It will wipe out our auto sector. It is not an exaggeration to say that the majority of communities in Battle River, Crowfoot, and across rural and remote Canada would not exist if an electric vehicle mandate were in place. And that is why Conservatives are going to mount a massive pressure campaign at dealerships, at auto plants, in communities across the country, and on the floor of the House of Commons to stop the electric vehicle mandate and allow Canadians to buy the car or truck of their choice. You should be back in the driver's seat.
All right. That is some special kind of bullshit right there. And let's take a little break from here at the moment just to look at one thing. So far on this show, we have seen him talk a lot about crime. We have seen him exploiting tragedies of other people to beat the Liberals over the head. We've seen him talking about the transgender issue, and we've seen him talking about EV mandates, right? These are his priorities. Well, let's take a little bit of a look at something here, kids and cubs, because as you know, I like polls. Not for the same reason as political parties like polls, but I like polls because of the snapshot in time and the information that it gives us if you do know how to read them correctly. And here, kits and cubs, um, Nanos often has some polling. They come out every week, and every week they ask, what are the most important issues to you, Canadians? And well, let's just take a look at what the August 15th numbers, just released 2 days ago, indicate. And let's see how Pierre is doing with responding to what Canadians say they need. So if I'm looking at this, these are the top 10 issues that Canadians mention, and how many of them mention them in percentage. Trump US relations is now 22%, overtaking jobs and the economy at 18% as the number one issue. He has not talked about either of those things yet, really. You could say he touched a little bit on the economy when he was talking about rampant inflation and all this kind of stuff, but not really. He hasn't come up with an economic plan. He's talked about people having bigger paychecks, but he hasn't said how he's going to manage that. And I don't know how it is he's going to force corporations to pay people more. The third one is healthcare, 8%. He's had nothing to say about that. Immigration, 6%. He said he has a lot to say about that. Inflation, 5%. Okay, he's there. Housing, 5%. Environment, 5%. National security, 3%. Poverty, 3%. Change the government, 2%. Crime is not there. Fighting those transgenders are not there. Taking on medical colleges is not there. Freedom of expression is not there. So in the things that I've listened to and that I've seen him talk about immigration that needs to be capped, and some people, we need to be accepting less people. And I do not know how, in a country where we're looking to reorient the entire economy and probably have some major infrastructure builds, how having less people coming into the country to help with that is going to actually get those things built that he says he wants to build. Those two policies don't go together in any way, shape, or form. He says inflation, but he's blaming it on liberal policies without talking about the entire disruption of the global economy that's coming from south of us, that is doing something to raise prices. And he's certainly not mentioning that inflation for the last 3 months has been below the 2% target of the Bank of Canada. The 2 to 3% target, but 2 range, but 2% target. The overall number doesn't talk about that, doesn't give credit for that. Because in the inflation numbers, even though inflation is down, it seems that food inflation was a little bit up. So I saw him in something talk about food inflation specifically, but not overall inflation. National security is on the list. Guy won't go for security clearance. Poverty is on the list. Well, that requires social programs that he doesn't believe in. But the issues he's talking about are not the big ones that are top of mind. So the impression that I'm getting from this is that he went into Battle River Crowfoot, unlike Bonnie Crombie, I keep on doing that, Bonnie Critley, with her notepad and her pen, and you tell me what your issues are. And he's gone then and said, well, these are the issues I want to fight for, and I'm going to try to spin them as a rural issue. He's not there to bring the voice of the residents of Battle River Crowfoot to Parliament. He's there to bring the voice of the party into the living rooms of the residents of Battle River Crowfoot. There is nobody in Battle River Crowfoot when you're going door to door to door saying that their first top of mind issue is that EV mandate. There's nobody that's saying, oh, that woman, that midwife fight for her. But that's what he's doing. That's what he's coming up with. There might be some people talking to him about crime. There might be. I'm not sure if the people that are talking to him about rampant crime are in Battle River Crowfoot, as opposed to other places in the country. And yeah, I understand he is the leader of the party, so he's got to bring national issues. But I'm not seeing a person who is making an effort to be in touch with the issues that Canadians are saying are of major concern to them. Because if that were the case, he would be talking about what Trump is doing and how he's got a plan for that. And he would be talking about how it is we need to reorient our economy to create new jobs and different kinds of jobs as quickly as possible, because we are going to lose some based on what Trump is doing. I just hear him complaining and telling you who to blame, promising that he's got solutions, but not actually discussing any. And it's not like he hasn't had a lot of time to think about it since April. It's not like he didn't have a lot of time to think of it in the 2 or 3 years prior to April. We're not talking about a deep person here. We're not talking about a person that has any focus on solutions. We're talking about a person that has a focus on identifying a problem, telling you who to blame for it, and then engaging in endless and relentless character assassination on the person or entity he tells you to blame for it, and promising, I will stop the crime. I will fix the budget. With what and how? I don't say, but I will. And only I can do it. He's not sitting in a room for hours on end trying to come up with policy and strategy and tactical moves, contingency plans. It's like I said, the least amount of work possible. This guy, for as hard as he works to try to get us to despise each other and think poorly of our own country, when it comes to actually doing the work of finding out why things are the way they are and some actual credible solutions, credible proposals to fix these problems or make things better, he doesn't do the work. He's lazy. Why do all that work and that research when I can just stand in front of the podium and say, axe that tax? Everything's the fault of that tax and that person that put that tax on you. And just repeat that over and over and over again and come up with 40%. Why do the work? He's lazy. All right, let's get back to a little bit of Pierre on.
We need safe streets again, even in rural communities where Kevin Sorensen tells me they used to leave the doors unlocked. Now people don't feel so safe. In rural communities on farms, the thieves are showing up and siphoning gas and stealing copper. More dangerous and violent drug offenses are happening everywhere. Conservatives will push for laws that lock up violent offenders, ban drugs, treat addiction, and make our communities safe to raise families and for seniors to retire. We'll also protect the lawful, licensed, trained, and tested firearms owners. Having a hunting rifle in rural communities is not just a matter of recreation. It is a way to feed your family. And we will secure our borders. by putting an end to the Liberal open borders experiment of mass immigration, which has been a disaster. Over the next several years, we need to have more people leaving than coming, so that citizens in Canada can afford homes, can find jobs and health care again. Conservatives welcome lawful, orderly immigration, but it has to be done in our national interest, the right people, and in the right numbers.
So you will notice the contradiction. We have to have more people leaving than coming in, but we support immigration. Make it make sense.
In other words, we will fight to restore an immigration system that puts Canada first. And most of all, we need to restore the sovereignty of our country. Our nation has become far too dependent on one export market, and increasingly the Liberals are losing two trade wars, one with China and one with the U.S. Since Mr. Carney took office, $60 billion of net investment has fled the country to escape high Liberal taxes and brutal anti-development policies.
Again, he's doing correlation is causation here. And if that number is even accurate, I'm pretty sure that not all of it, or even the majority of it, left for those reasons, for things that Mark Carney has done since taking office. There have been no new business unfriendly policies from Mark Carney since he took office. Nothing has changed on that front since he took office. In fact, you would say that with the reduction of the carbon tax and the elimination of the capital gains tax, that Mark Carney, if anything, made the business climate more friendly. So that $60 billion that he allegedly is mentioning, there has to be another reason than the one he's attributing to it, because the reasons he's attributing for it just simply do not exist in any observable reality.
This has weakened our economy and our negotiating position against other countries that want to take advantage of us. Those investors are taking their money to other places that have lower taxes and more favorable treatment. Meanwhile, U.S. and Chinese tariffs have actually worsened since Mr. Carney got elected, and that was election that he ran on getting a better deal.
Those tariffs have worsened for everyone. We are not special. Again, he takes an element, disassociates it from the entire context and anything in observable reality that it is attached to, holds it up alone as a single thing on its own, and says, this is terrible, blame this guy. This is not serious.
Conservatives will fight to put Canada first, and we will work with anyone from any party. We continue to extend our hand to Mr. Carney and say that we want to work with any party to put an end to the tariffs and get a fair deal for Canada. In fact, we're proposing solutions, nonpartisan solutions, that will help strengthen Canada's hand. For example...
Okay, so this is the second time that he says we will work with anybody, but he's saying, of course, we will work anybody to impose our agenda, not the agenda of the government that Canadians actually elected. Because if he was saying that he would work with anyone to try to reduce these tariffs, he would look to the guy that his own government hired in 2008 and got them through that crisis, and would be saying, hey, how can we help? Instead of standing in front of every podium and in front of every camera saying how everything is even worse now because of the guy. And when he says that he's got nonpartisan solutions, now listen to the list of solutions and what he says afterwards, and tell me if these are indeed nonpartisan.
We propose a Canadian Sovereignty Act to take back control of our economic destiny. This act would legalize pipeline construction, rapid mine approvals, LNG plants, nuclear plants. It would get rid of the industrial carbon tax, the EV mandate. It would ensure that Alberta could continue increasing its output of oil and gas. It would pave the way to get pipelines built right across this country, and it would eliminate capital gains tax when you reinvest your profits here in Canada to bring back hundreds of billions of dollars investment. This is an idea I hope the Liberals will steal, because our purpose...
Okay, notice here that he's also claiming that hundreds of billions of dollars in capital gains taxes are available to be reinvested. I would love to have a fact check on that, because I don't think that's anywhere remotely true.
Our purpose is Canada. It's a plan that will mean that we dig mines, lay pipe, open ports, unleash...
Did he just say we're going to lay pipe?
...the might of our worker and the genius of our entrepreneur in a bigger, more powerful free enterprise economy that put Canadians back in charge of their lives. These steps will save you money, restore safety in your streets, secure your borders, and strengthen your nation's sovereignty. These are based on common sense, getting back to basics, things I learned a lot about when I was traveling around the great communities of the region of Battle River Crowfoot.
All right, and that's where we're going to stop this part, because then he just goes into some flowery stuff and whatnot, and then there's just more of this, blowing sunshine up the butt of the people there, and then more negativity. But yeah. Did that sound nonpartisan to you? Did that sound like he's coming to the table with anything new? That sounded like Danielle Smith had basically written that up. It's all the things he was campaigning on before that Canadians didn't find sufficient because he didn't win neither the election nor his seat. And he's coming back to us with the exact same damn things that we've already rejected and said no to. There is no growth. There will be no change. None. We're literally rejoining the program that he was offering us while Trudeau was still in power. That's it. The show disappeared for a while, and now it's coming back at the exact same spot that it was, and we're just going to continue on. This is not a man for the times. The moment has passed him by. The moment passed him by during the election. Well, prior to that, really. And then we saw just how deeply and how profoundly and how quickly it passed him by during the election. And since the election, we're seeing how the moment has passed him by even more if we're looking at the public opinion polling from that point on. The gap between the Liberals and Conservatives has widened. If we had an election today, it would be a nearly 200 seats for the Liberals and about 117 for the Conservatives. It wouldn't be close. On favorability, there is like something ridiculous, like a 70-point gap between these two candidates. Even when asked, like, he's talking about immigration here. Do you think the number of legal immigrants who are allowed to relocate in Canada should increase, remain the same, or decrease? 41% say decrease, 34% say remain the same, 16% say increase. 50% of Canadians are saying that they should remain the same or increase, but he's saying that more people need to go. He is not in line at all with where Canadians are. He might be in line where conservatives are, but not where Canadians are. Now, of course, that's because Pierre, from this point on, is not going to be serving the residents of Battle River Crowfoot, and he's not even going to be serving Canadians because he still has that leadership review. So from now until January, he's going to be standing in front of these microphones, these cameras, saying whatever it is that he needs to say to make sure he wins that leadership review. For the past 3 months, he was saying whatever he needed to say to win Battle River Crowfoot. For the 3 months prior to that, he was saying whatever he needed to say to try and tarnish Carney so that he could win. So one period of 3 months, another period of 3 months, and another period of, I don't know how many this until January, but we're looking at more than 3 months here. September, October, November, December, January. We're looking at 5 months. It's going to be all red meat to the conservative base all the time to make sure he wins that leadership review. He's not going to be representing anybody's issues. Nobody's issues except for his own. Another immigration question that was asked. Do you think immigration is having a mostly positive or mostly negative effect in Canada? Positive 43%, negative 39%, but he still wants people to go. Now, again, of the 39% who think it's negative, the overwhelming majority, of course, are conservative leaning. So that's why he's doing that. It's just preferred prime minister polling. Nanos, August 15th. Carney 52, Poilievre 24. It's 28-point spread. The spread between Carney and Poilievre is wider than Poilievre's number. That would be a sign, if you're looking at these polls, that you need to change something, but he is not doing that. By God, he's got a plan, and he's going to climb all on top of us and impose it. Regardless of what we want, regardless of what we tell him. He knows better. He knows better. He's got our spoonful of medicine, and he's going to make it swallow it. No sugar. So we're going to be going back to him exhausting us. It's really sad to say, but that is indeed the case. God. I don't understand not coming back with anything fresh. Turning a new page, turning over a new leaf, coming up to a podium and saying, you know what? There was the Trudeau time like this, but now we are in different times, and these different times call for different things. And therefore, and leave that. I mean, it's just sitting there for him. He doesn't have to do much work. He just has to say, look, all this, it's changed. He just literally needs to point to everything. And talk about how much it has indeed changed. And therefore, we need some new solutions. And I'm going to come to you with, some bold new policy and vision like this, and a team that's fully energetic and tuned into your needs, and start reflecting back to the people some of the things that they're saying instead of what he wants them to agree with. It would be so easy to pivot because everything in the world has shifted so hard that it would be hard to accuse him of flip-flopping on anything. because the game has completely changed so radically. But he will not. He has a plan. It's the same plan as the plan before. And he's going to follow it, despite the fact that it has not worked for him yet. Ay, it's exhausting. Completely and utterly exhausting. Ay, ay, ay. Well, let's take a minute away from Pierre and a little time to look at Bonnie. This is an interview that she gave with CTV following the result. And so let's see what she is saying about her experience, what she thinks, what is coming down the pike from Pierre, and maybe a little bit about her future.
Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our politics panel on the dust-up over expense disclosures. But first, by-election reflections.
I really love the people of Battle River Crowfoot. They're the kind of what you see is what you get. Give you the shirt off their back. Tell it like it is. Common sense people.
Pierre Poilièvre returning to Parliament, this time as an Alberta MP after having won the Battle River Crowfoot by-election with just over 80% of the votes. And joining us now, the independent candidate who finished second to the Conservative Party leader, Bonnie Critley. Great to see you.
How's it going today?
Going very well. Going very well. Glad to have you with us. Now, in challenging the gentleman we just saw there in the clip, Mr. Pierre Poilièvre, you were, by and large part, the candidate to watch. You generated your own headlines, and that translated into you capturing almost 10% of the vote. How does that outcome mesh with the motivation that drew you to run in the first place?
Well, I showed up, I stood up because I wanted to explain to the Conservative Party that we were not tools to be stepped on and discarded in one man's ego-driven trip to be NPM.
By that, do you mean the residents of your riding?
I mean my neighbors in our communities, yep.
Now,
and so with 10%, I think we sent that message that no, it's not a free trip, you got to work for it.
So finishing second? That's okay by you?
That's okay by me. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed. I did expect a higher percentage of the vote. My polling showed me running a little bit higher, but then the disinformation campaign came in, and then there were shenanigans during Election Day, so I'm not 100% surprised on how everything turned out.
But what does it say to you that as an independent, you came in second? You finished ahead of candidates with party affiliation.
That tells me that my neighbors and our communities, my message resonated with them because it is our home. It is our riding. I still live there. He is now my MP, so he's going to get all sorts of letters from me if he doesn't show up. Because I spoke with Laura Babcock on the O Show yesterday, and what I said was that I challenge Monsieur Poilievre to actually come back to Battle River Crowfoot and prove me wrong, because I don't think we'll ever see him again.
You mentioned a moment ago, Election Day shenanigans.
Yes. I am going to leave whether it was legal or illegal up to the Commissioner for Canadian Elections and the RCMP, but there were mocked up Elections Canada signs that had the appropriate disclaimer in font about that big on a 3-by-6 foot sign in a slightly different shade of yellow than there was. And then there was issues where deputy returning officers were handing out the large print books only with all the parties up front and all the independents in the back. Plus, there were some other issues reported by my scrutineers that have been reported to the Commissioner, yes.
Yeah, and ahead of Election Day, you expressed frustration with the longest ballot group flooding the by-election with candidates. What What do you feel their impact was on the outcome?
Oh, they cost me votes. They may have cost me the election. Because as I'm going door to door to door to door, I'm having to say, I am not part of the longest ballot. This is not who I'm with. I am here because I'm your neighbor and this isn't right. And I had a few doors slammed in my face before I could get that out. And then, of course, the rest of the parties, especially with the books, the way things were done, with the change in the ballots and everything, I was the only one who really had a problem because I had the exact same party marking, independent, underneath my name as everybody else.
Do you take your concerns further? Or is it over and done with where the longest ballot committee is concerned?
I'm going to look into options because I really do think that it is legal election interference. And if nothing else, I want the regulations changed so that you have one official agent for one candidate, not one official agent for 204 candidates.
All right, let's put the focus back on the gentleman who will now be your MP as a resident of the riding. At any point during the by-election or afterwards, did you have the opportunity for a one-on-one conversation with Pierre Poilièvre?
He avoided me. Anytime we were at an event together, I've got people saying he's all over the place, he's over there, and if I went looking, he's gone. He avoided me. We had a super brief conversation backstage at the forum in Camrose. He decided the rules didn't apply to him, so he didn't show up with the rest of the candidates in the green room. He felt the need to make a spectacle through the front door. So he showed up in the back, just in time to shake everybody's hand, and then we had to form up to go out on stage. He showed up very, very briefly backstage during the intermission, shook hands again, and disappeared again. So he did his utmost to avoid talking to me. I would absolutely welcome a conversation. I really would.
How do you expect him, Pierre Poilievre, to fare now as a rural Alberta member of Parliament?
Well, like I said, I don't think he's going to show up. And it is unfortunate, but it was really interesting because his only platform points was blaming the PM for things. And let's say removing the Trudeau-era firearms regulation or revoking a bunch of that, repealing that, because it unfairly targets legal gun owners. That's been on my platform since May when I started. The first time I heard him speak about it was the Camrose Forum. And then come Drumheller, he's talking right to repair. So at the very least, he was listening to me during the campaign. It will be very interesting to see if he listens to anybody moving forward. As for his leadership review, well, he's got the lowest numbers of a Conservative leader in recent history. So we may be doing this again in May.
Okay, well, on that point, maybe
Sorry,
that's
not May, March.
Maybe that's an opportunity for us to wind down the conversation. Does that mean Bonnie Critley will seek office again? Will you take another stab at running for federal politics?
Well, I can tell you, I'm going to go sleep for a week first because I didn't come off the campaign trail until 11:30 at night, Sunday night. I'm going to go sleep for a week, and then we're going to see what happens. But I can tell you, I'm not done yet.
All right. We'll leave it there. Pleasure to meet you, Bonnie Critley.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you kindly.
So there we have it here. Bonnie Critley doing some post by-election interviews, mentioning that there were some shenanigans at the voting area that might need to be taken a look at. I'm not sure if that will be enough to it's not something that would change the result, of course, but it's something that we need some more clarity here because, yes, a yellow disclaimer on a yellow background, not particularly visible. You've complied with the rules, kind of, but in a way that, is a little underhanded there and sneaky. So there might need to be some alterations and some precisions. But the interesting part there, her stating that she's not done yet. So whether that means a run municipally, run provincially. Who knows? But she does have a point, though, that in a riding in which 80% of the vote is a foregone conclusion going to the Conservatives, when you can capture half of the rest, um, you probably connected, and there's probably a future for you there in the public sphere somewhere, somehow. So I'm glad that she's not done yet, and that she will still be there, and trying to make a difference, and hopefully she will find a spot to land where her forthrightness and ability to put the people she serves first above herself will be valued and welcome, because there is a place somewhere for that type of skill. But the most important thing from her candidacy is a lot of people from coast to coast to coast saw her going and really resonated with what she was saying and the manner with which she was saying it. And that might um, encourage other people to take that tack and use that approach. And we'll see if there's a enduring impact from at least from those who were inspired and um, identified with that which she was saying. Now, kids, I am going to do something that I think we all going to appreciate, myself included, and that is when looking at Pierre Poilievre's presser. I am not going to go through it with as much detail with that I did the victory speech, because a lot of the things in the victory speech were basically in his presser. But there is one moment of it that I am going to highlight for you, and only um, one. Um, I could show you some of the questions from the question and answer, but there really is no difference in the question and answers from Pierre Poilievre in the manner that he answers before he either doesn't answer the question, um, right? And then moves on to other things, or mentions one line and then uh, launches into how liberals are bad. There is one question I'm going to show you the answer to, only because the beginning of the answer to, only because I was stunned by how little time and he gave to it, the actual question, given the question itself. But as I mentioned when we were going through his the portions of his victory speech, by the way, the music to which he left on his victory speech was Journey's "Don't Stop Believing." I'll let you uh, do with that bit of information what you will. But I did mention to you, kits and cubs, that his four-thing verb the noun slogan: ask the tax, stop the crime, build the homes, fix the budget, right? Um, he's kind of ditched that, but he hasn't ditched the structure of having four things that he says he's going to do. They don't run off the tongue as easy as three verb the nouns at the moment, but I'm sure his team will find a way to make that happen. But he definitely has four. So let's take a look at what they are. And kits and cubs, just to let you know here, this is only going to last not even a minute. Okay, so I'm trying to really minimize the PP exposure here, but this is when you got to see, because this is going to be a driving force and a driving through line of his anti everything and always negative all the time narrative for the next.
Price for this insanity. And that is why Conservatives are setting our priorities for the fall session. We want stronger take-home pay that buys more affordable goods, safer communities by locking up criminals, secure borders with immigration that is under control and drugs and guns kept out of our country, and a self-reliant Canada that produces more of its own goods and reaches overseas markets so that we're no longer so helplessly reliant on one market. That is.
So that's it, kids and cubs. Those are the four. Stronger take-home pay, safer streets, secure borders, a more self-reliant Canada. That's the new acts, the tax fits, the budget, stop the crime. And you will notice there when he's talking about safer streets, how he directly associates immigration to crime. Because what's a little casual racism between friends, right? But that's going to be the new slogan, kids and cubs. They'll rework it and maybe they'll find a way to verb the noun it again or to make it a little snappier. But pay attention. Stronger take-home pay, safer streets, secure the borders, a more self-reliant Canada. That's going to be the thing that we're going to hear coming out of his mouth nonstop. And I don't know if that lasts only until he wins the leadership race, if he wins the leadership race, or whether or not that continues after. But it's the exact, even though the words are slightly different and the structure slightly different, it's the same damn strategy. It's the same damn strategy. Nothing's changed. The one question I want to bring to your attention, to which he answered, is that there was some news yesterday that came out that a certain number of members of the military had been suspended, I would guess is the word at the moment, for things that they have done that are hate related. We had mentioned some stories before. There was a Facebook group and all that type of stuff that had some questionable content, and the military was quite upset with that. Well, according to Murray Brewster, there was a Nazi salute video that had emerged, and 5 Canadian soldiers were suspended as a result of this. According to him, he says the Canadian Army is now dealing with another incident of alleged hateful conduct that involves Quebec-based soldiers caught on video allegedly partying while some of them delivered Nazi salutes. In a statement, Lieutenant General Mike Wright, the commander of the army, said the video was brought to his attention on August 6th and an immediate internal investigation was launched, quote, to determine the breadth and the scope of the incident. Military police have also been notified, he added. Although the video shows several individuals, Wright said at least 5 of them have been identified as serving members of the Canadian Army. Those soldiers have been suspended from military duties pending an investigation by the unit. So they didn't just get a temporary suspension. There is an actual other investigation with potentially other consequences to come. Quote, one individual can be seen performing a drill in front of the Royal 22nd Regiment flag, then consuming a substance, Wright said in the written statement. At one point in the video, other individuals performed the Nazi salute. Although I have been made aware that these events happened in 2023, these members remain subject to administrative and disciplinary action that may lead to their release. The statement released by the Department of National Defense on Tuesday was light on specifics and didn't say whether the accused soldiers were all regular or reserve force members, nor precisely how the video came to the Army's attention. However, a source at the Defense Department with knowledge of the video said it was turned in by a member of the public and looks like it was shot at a basement house party. The room was dimly lit. A soldier holding the flag of the Royal 22nd Regiment is apparently consuming a drug of some kind. Right at the end, a couple of the soldiers give the Nazi salute. The clip apparently lasts less than 30 seconds, said the confidential source, who was not authorized to speak publicly. Earlier this summer, a terrorism case emerged in Quebec where two serving soldiers, a former member and a civilian who was also a former cadet instructor, were accused in an extremist anti-government plot that allegedly involved taking over a parcel of land. The men are accused of stockpiling an arsenal of highly restricted weapons and military equipment, including some of the latest night vision gear. The department said none of the equipment came from its inventory. And then there were 4 people that were charged with facilitating a terrorist activity and other offenses related to the illegal storage of firearms and possession of explosives and prohibited devices. And a 4th person was accused of weapons offenses. D&D acknowledged that 2 of them were active members of the military at the time of their arrest on July 8th. In addition, there are 2 other investigations, one internal and one by military police, into a separate incident involving a now defunct Facebook group that I mentioned, where members of the Cameron Highlanders of Ottawa, Duke of Edinburgh's own, allegedly posted hateful and inappropriate content. Quote, hateful conduct and extremism have no place in the Canadian Army and hurts our ability to recruit the best of Canada and maintain credibility to deliver on operations, and it erodes public trust in our institution, Wright said in a statement. Canadian Army members who jeopardize that trust and participate in hateful conduct will face the consequence of their actions. So, in light of the most recent of these things, the Nazi salute video, Pierre was asked specifically about this. And I want you to look at the amount of time he deals with the actual issue of Canadian Forces members delivering a Nazi salute. And the passion with which he stands against this type of behavior.
Catch up with the cost of living. As long as you have Liberals spending money they don't have on things we do not need, working people will pay the price through higher inflation. We need to cut back on the consultants, the waste, the bureaucracy to bring down debt, inflation, and taxes. Thank you.
Hello, Yasmin Ghanay, CBC National News. Have the measures the Canadian Armed Forces taken to date to combat hateful conduct and racism been sufficient? And what should happen to the soldiers who gave the Nazi salute?
We condemn that, and I think the after a decade of Liberal mismanagement and poor political leadership, our military is in a difficult state, despite the courageous men and women who put on the uniform every single day. Liberals have ruined our armed forces by underfunding the front line, by building up the back office bureaucracy, and by wasting money on constant procurement boondoggles. We believe in a military that is strong. We want to fill all the vacancies in recruitment. We want to rearm our forces, buy the Poseidon planes, the fighter jets. We need 3 new bases in the north. We need to take back control of our Arctic. We need a military that is guided by a warrior culture, and that is what we're going to have under a future Conservative government. Thank you.
Wow. Are you impressed with that type of response in the face of a Nazi salute video from the Canadian Armed Forces? Oh, well, we condemn that. After a decade of Liberal. That's it. All he has to say, in a voice softer than anything he has used in the entire press conference. Oh, well, we condemn that. And that's it. That's all he had to offer. That was the extent of the condemnation of that behavior. Well, unsurprising for a guy who had 3 of his MPs have lunch with Christine Anderson and didn't sanction them in any way, shape, or form now, right? We deserve better than that. We deserve better than that. Unbelievable. So yeah, can't even stand up and make a full-throated denunciation of Nazi salutes, and particularly some of them made by members of the military. Talking about we need Arctic bases and we need all that, which has nothing to do. He just cannot stand up for Canada, and he just cannot stand up for a world or a Canada without racism. He just cannot. He will not. You saw everybody in the background there behind him, because he's in Surrey. None of those faces were white. And in front of them, all he could say was, well, we condemn that. And then launch into blaming liberals for the condition of the current military. If I was in that room and not white, even if I was a conservative, I would have been, did anybody else hear that? Did anybody else think that that was sufficient? He can't do it. Yes, Tabby G. It's a choice. He is choosing not to condemn that behavior. A lot of people would say because that's the vote he's courting. But he is not at all condemning that type of behavior. Wow. I'm blown by that. I couldn't believe it. I had to listen to that like 2-3 times. I had to make sure, did I miss something? Was there more in there? No, there wasn't. That's all he had. If this guy cannot stand up and denounce members of the Canadian Armed Forces who are given the Nazi salute, this is not a man who can stand up to Trump. He doesn't have the courage. And at the end of that press conference, he was lobbed a softball about the U.S. trade thing, and basically pretended that by now he could have done better than Mark Carney with far fewer skills and definitely far less backbone. He was also asked about the flight attendant thing, and basically said you should get paid for the work that you do, which of course raised for me a moment of irony, because if you should get paid for the work that you do, well, does that mean you should not get paid for the work you don't do? Because if that's the case, buddy, you owe us a lot of money because you haven't been doing your job much over the past 3 years, and you won't be doing it until January either. It is, and another one that he was asked, because that big press conference was to announce his new policy that he is going to, he has a policy against the crime of extortion, and blaming the Liberals for removing mandatory minimums associated with that in Bill C-5. Bill C-5, as you know, was a bill that the Liberals under Trudeau passed that removed mandatory minimum sentences from 14 different laws, putting that back in the hands of the judges, right? supporting the concept of judicial discretion in sentencing because so many mandatory minimum laws had been declared unconstitutional. Now, the one specifically related to the crime of extortion had not been brought to court to be ruled unconstitutional, but given that so many of them in the past have, they just basically took 14 different laws that had these things on them and said, you know what, we're just removing the mandatory minimums and we are trusting the judges to impose the proper sentences. That's what he's complaining about here. That a policy that has been deemed time and time and time and time again to be unconstitutional. That the government of the day decided not to create more laws that could be challenged and be determined unconstitutional. That's his big complaint. And he was asked specifically, because he's in Surrey, about the Bolshoi gang, I believe is the name of it. And the first question was from the journalist asking him specifically, yes, okay, but what can you do right now to keep people safe? And he had absolutely nothing except for Parliament declaring the group a terrorist organization, just was the case like he did for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. But that's something that's going to have, if it was done, it's going to take some time. Parliament doesn't resume until September 15th, and then you got to write the law, you got to draft the law, you got to get it through the House. The reporter was asking, yeah, but what can we do right now to stop this? Because this gang has been accused of committing crimes against South Asian businesses that are owned by people of South Asian origin and extorting them. So what could you do now? We need to pass a law to declare them a terrorist organization. Okay, but how does that help people now? And he didn't have anything. Because he doesn't think about the policy, he just thinks about the slogan and the headline. Declaring it a terrorist organization is not going to make it stop, right? These are the same people that say tougher gun laws don't stop gun crime, but declaring something a terrorist organization is suddenly going to stop them engaging in terrorist activity on our soil? Really? It's nonsense. He's got nothing for these people. He's exploiting their fear and their concern. But he's showing up with an empty suitcase, as he is known to do. There is no change. There is no evolution. There is no serving the people. There's let me show up and talk at you and tell you what we wanted to do all along, and watch me clumsily and awkwardly try to spin this as this is something that we are doing for you to meet your concerns. When they're not at all. It's pretty sad, actually. Before we go, kids and cubs, there is something I came across yesterday with regard to the Air Canada strike that I found very, very interesting. I was listening to a segment on Power and Politics during which it was the panel afterwards at the end of the show, right? And they were talking about the strike. And there were some pieces of information that were dropped in to there that didn't get a lot of public attention. And they contained pieces of information that changed my assessment, actually, of what it is that went down and how it went down. Because the Carney government went to the industrial My God. I want to say Labor Relations Board, but that's not the name of it. Sorry. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but went to that body and had that body declare the strike illegal and order the union back to work. The union told them to go take a flying leap and that they were ready to go to jail if needed to stand for that principle of collective bargaining. Uh, but I want to show you this little bit of the panel discussion on that because Lisa Raitt says something that's very interesting that maybe explains why it is the Liberals went that route. Vandana Qatar says something that I really like because she keeps it very real in her answer. And then Rob Russo answers as well and drops another bit of information that I had not heard anywhere else. And that little bit of information made me go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe Mark Carney actually was a little more clever than the average bear, and that things are not exactly what they seem on the surface. So I'm going to present this to you, and I will probably make 2 stops during this because what Vandana Qatar, the only comment I have to say is how she really kept it real and really was nonpartisan in her answer. And you will see that there's a point in there where she says something like this, and you even see Lisa Raitt nodding and going, yeah, that's kind of true. So, but I will point out these 2 things to you. And this gave me an entirely different impression of what went on. And maybe you will see it too after I point these things out. All right. Oops.
Okay, I want to move on to the other big topic of the day. That would be Air Canada. Following a weekend strike action, hundreds of thousands of Canadians remain in travel limbo as Air Canada flight attendants are defying a back-to-work order. Prime Minister Mark Carney is urging both parties to resolve the dispute as quickly as possible.
We recognize very much the critical role that flight attendants play in keeping Canadians and their families safe. It's important that they're compensated equitably at all times, fairly at all times. That's the reason why there have been negotiations over the course of the last 8 months. It is disappointing that those negotiations did not come to an agreement, and it was the judgment of both the union and the company that they were at an impasse. That's not my judgment, it's their judgment. So, Lisa, as former Labour Minister, I might add, in a government that was also criticized for use of back-to-work legislation, but I want to know what you make of the government's response on this. Is there more they should be doing? Have they gone in the right direction, or are they misstepping?
What a mess. First of all, you have to think about everybody who is stranded around the world and everybody who is worried about whether or not they're going to have their plans fulfilled. And what a mess in terms of how do we move forward from this and how do we get some clarity and some finality. So for that, I'm going to say that the government, I'm going to criticize them on because they should have thought this through a little bit more. The only true way in order to stop a strike or a lockout and ensure that people go back to work is by passing an act of parliament. That's the only sure way of doing it. That's the back to work legislation, which has to go through both the House of Commons and the Senate. The minister has to be accountable. Everybody has to vote, and you have to win the vote in the House for that to happen. Perhaps the government looked at this issue and realized we're not going to win that vote. And because we're a minority government. So we're going to have to find another way in which to get both the company to agree to not lock out anymore and the flight attendants and the union to come back from being on strike. And they fumbled because there's so much uncertainty around using this section of the Canada Labour Code. It has not been defined yet by law. It has not been reviewed by the courts as to whether or not it's appropriate. So you got a test case here that all the unions are coming around and supporting, and the flight attendants have an issue that they have broken through a narrative with Canadians on. And that's the question of whether or not they're being paid for when they're not on a plane.
Vandana.
All right. So, kits and cubs, This answer is important in that Lisa Raitt said the quiet part out loud. Given that the Conservatives had positioned themselves as being pro-worker on this one, which again, finding it hard to believe, and you know that the NDP would, and so indeed would the Bloc Québécois, um, if there had to be any back to work legislation, it might not have passed through the House. And of course, we would have had to wait till September 15th to actually be able to start that process, which means the strike would have gone on for about a whole month before that happens. Or lockout, I should say, not strike, lockout. Had it gone the full way through. So if, as a prime minister, you know that back to work legislation is not going to pass because the Conservative Party basically decided it's going to do the opposite of what it normally does, just to own you, then you take another route, which is the Industrial Relations Board. Now, interestingly enough, Lisa Raitt, who was talking about this, she was the minister in charge of these types of files back in 2011. And some person on Twitter who has either a good memory or great research skills found this. Tories' quick trigger on labor disputes dangerous, say experts. 17th of November, 2011. Holiday travelers rejoice. There will not be a strike at Air Canada this season. Instead, thanks to a bit of legal jiu-jitsu from the Harper government that blocked the union from walking off the job last month, the long-standing dispute between the airline's management and its aggrieved flight attendants was brought to a decisive end last Monday, with both sides settling on a contract. Having nixed the possibility of a protracted strike, the government's intercession is likely to win the support of a public happy to have the whole mess cleared up before Christmas. But many experts warn the Air Canada affair marks an unprecedented and potentially dangerous overreach into a proven process of collective bargaining. By nipping strikes and lockouts in the bud for the sake of the economic stability, they argue the government threatens to unbalance a system of conflict resolution that has long served not only the interests of organized labor, but those of Canadian businesses as well. The dispute between Air Canada and CUPE, the union representing the flight attendants, began to get truly weird in the middle of last month, on October 12th, after the union membership voted down a deal cut between its leadership and the airline's corporate management for the second time. Minister of Labour, Lisa Raitt, formally requested that the Canada Industrial Relations Board look into the issue. It was an unusual choice. The CRRB is the quasi-judicial agency typically tasked with investigating alleged violations of Canadian labor law by federally regulated corporations and unions. But here, no obvious violation has been made. Instead, the minister made two distinct referrals to the CIRB requesting why this labor dispute should be given special attention. As long as the CRIB was looking into the two referrals, Raitt argued CUPE was effectively barred from striking. While some have disputed the legal validity of this argument, it was enough to force the parties towards a quick resolution. Presuming that the government would not allow the dispute to end in a strike, the union leadership saw itself stripped of bargaining power. 2 weeks later, CUPE and Air Canada agreed to settle ahead of the CRRB ruling through interest arbitration, a process whereby a solemnic third party cuts a deal which both sides are then compelled to accept. Last Monday, a deal was reached. Elizabeth McPherson, the current chairperson of the CRB, imposed upon the parties a contract previously rejected by the union. That was Lisa Raitt, who was the minister when it was used then, 14 years ago, saying how this government has screwed up by doing this. Well, this interview, of course, was done before the strike resolved itself. And the strike resolved itself within a day, or the lockout, I should say, within a day or two, as opposed to 2 weeks later when Lisa did it. And This one resolved with both parties coming to a deal, an agreement with each other, rather than a mediator that was appointed imposing on the union a deal it had already rejected. So it's been done before, and you knew it because you did it, but you didn't mention it during this interview. You let it slip that maybe he did this because he knew that his law wasn't going to, back to work legislation wasn't going to pass. So the Conservatives weren't, even if this had been going on at this point for about a month, then the Conservatives would have, like the convoy, let the Liberals wear it. So that was not the path forward. And and this time it got resolved faster with an agreement at the table that both parties agreed to prior to binding arbitration being imposed. Now, why, in this case, would these flight attendants be able to come to an agreement with the employer so quickly? Interesting. Put a pin in that question. Now, we'll have Vidana Qatar talk to us and keep it real about what the real politic of these types of situations are. And then we'll go into Rob Russo, who will talk. I'll just let it flow. And he gives that answer to the question that I'm telling you to put a pin in.
Labor critic Kyle Seaback posting to social media this statement, really talking about the Conservative proposed pay legislation for unpaid work for flight attendants. There's a similar.
Now, the statement reads, because I don't think she's reading it, instead of continuing to attack flight attendants by forcing them back to work, Carney should work with Parliament to pass the Conservatives' Flight Attendants Fairness Act, ensuring workers are paid for the work they do before, during, and after a flight. Yes, they probably should do that, but that can't be done until at least September 15th when the House resumes. Kyle Seaback knows that. And two, that does absolutely nothing to stop the lockout now. So Conservatives virtue signaling left, right, and center here, proposing solutions that are not actually practical, pragmatic, or actually even accessible at the current moment.
From the NDP earlier when in the previous parliament, I guess, was this use of Section 107 in the Labour Code a misstep by the government?
Yeah, I think, I thought about this a lot over the weekend, and I was at a family wedding, and a lot of my family were stranded in different parts and either couldn't get back home or they're still stuck here. And I would say that this is one of the toughest things to deal with when you're in government. I always hated to have to intervene in any way. We have to respect the collective bargaining process. And it's also, unions are important political bodies. Like, you lean on them, hopefully, for support during campaigns, and people, and they have, if you look at the Air Canada ad right now, it is very effective. But at the same time, Canadian consumers will only put up with that for so long. For amount of Canadians to be stranded, any hits to the economy like that is where the government will be stuck between a rock and a hard place. And, there's only so long that Canadians will sustain that. At one point, they'll be angry, so you get squeezed on both sides. So it's hard either way. And I think the decision to make that decision so quickly is very much a theme of the Carney government, where they're very decisive. So I think they chose to focus on what the impacts could be. They probably were told that they were at an impasse in some sort and felt this is the best tool for them to use. But personally, it's one of the toughest issues to have to deal with in government.
Rob, I'm not going to be very fair to you because we only have like a minute left or less. So just a quick, do you see any way for this to be resolved quickly?
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I do, as somebody who's sat on the union side and on the management side of discussions like this, I took note of the fact that the Canadian Industrial Relations Board did not go to the courts to order the courts to enforce the ruling and force people to go back to work. That to me suggests that CIRB is trying to build credibility and trust so that both sides can come back to the table. So I look forward to more talks that way. I think that that was a wise move. And I hope that there is a negotiated settlement. But other than that, I don't know how long any government could allow this to continue. Lisa was part of a government that ended an Air Canada strike during the March break, I think in 2012. So this can't go on for too much longer. But CIRB has been very, very canny, I think, in its restraint up until today.
Well,
And there you have the second piece of information that that made almost no press. The Canada Industrial Relations Board did not seek to have its order enforced by the court. So if you put it together, Mark Carney, knowing that back to work legislation would not work, had the file go to the CIRB, who did not enforce with the courts the back to work legislation, thus creating the opportunity for the union to reject it. At the same time, the Minister of Jobs, Patty Hajdu, had announced that she was launching a probe into the practices of Air Canada with regard to non-payment for work. Gee, it's amazing how quickly the employer was able to reach an agreement when they were so far apart with the union once the federal government decided that it was going to launch a probe into its practices, and the Industrial Relations Board didn't back up their back to work order with the courts. Clever, clever, clever. Because my main concern with Mark Carney on this was, why are you doing this to the workers? Where is your EQ here? And it seems that this guy, if this is intentional, the way I suspect it is, understands the systems so well that he can put pressure. Because I was sitting there when he said he had no choice. I said, like, you had a choice. You could have maybe threatened Air Canada's operating license. But this was, which would have been a sledgehammer to the forehead in terms of a tactic, not subtle at all. But this was way more subtle and clever. Yeah, order them back to work, but don't do it in a way that has any legal force behind it, while simultaneously announcing a probe into practices that I'm sure Air Canada would not like to have to respond to publicly. And then see what happens. He did make the choice to apply pressure on the employer. But that little bit of information that the Industrial Relations Board of Canada, the CIRB, Canada Industrial Relations Board, did not back up that order with court power, legal power, judicial power, is the thing that allowed the union to defy the employer. And then all of a sudden the employers with the situation is, we've been defied by our union, so we've just been defanged. There's a probe coming. And the body that we looked to solve this issue for us, because we were negotiating in bad faith until the clock ran out and we were going to let somebody else do the dirty work for us and wear it, is not cooperating with us to do that. If this altogether was a concerted strategy, clever, 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 Prime Minister Carney and Minister Hajdu. very clever. And hats off. If these are now, we will never know if everybody thought if we do this, this, and this, it's going to lead to this result and faster. But if there was somebody there that was strategic enough to think of that, good for you. And if it wasn't, it just happened to happen that way. Well, what a happy coincidence and circumstance. But I'd like to think here that people were clever enough to look at the entire chessboard and say, what pieces can we move to get both of them back to the table and resolve this quickly? And it worked. This issue is now no longer on the table to be exploited. And a deal was reached at the table without any binding arbitration and with the help of federal mediators that Patty Haidu all along said would be available and remained available even after this action. Gotta tip my hat. Gotta tip my hat. That is what you call 3D or 4D chess, if people had thought about it. And if that's the case, if people in this current government are able to think that way and are able to nudge people along that way in subtle manners such as that, Pierre is going to be in for a really rough ride as a leader because all he has is sledgehammer to the forehead, brute force tactics, and people who love to jump on an issue and say, oh my God, this is terrible. It's solved. Damn, crap. There goes that line of attack. This might be a problem for him because Pierre is the type of person, the Conservatives that like to rush out in front of an issue and be the first to declare something a tragedy or something terrible. I mean, remember that car accident in Buffalo? That was first being spun by Pierre as some type of terrorist activity. That was the damn fault of Justin Trudeau again for not having done enough for something. And turns out it was just a car accident. Not even on our side of the border. Yeah. If that is what we are going to be seeing from this government, we're going to see a lot of instances of Conservatives running to the camera with their hair on fire first to condemn something and blame something on the government only for the issue to just disappear and resolve itself without much brouhaha. I like this. I like this a lot. All right, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you loved listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us because we really love it when you do, especially when you share a little word of yours stating how much our content resonates with you. All right. And yes, I see Kit Tavi G going, I will be happy when Cochrane is back. Me too. I like him a lot. He does a really, really, really good job in that chair. And Kit Lindham agrees here. Yes, David Cochrane is quick to pick up on comments and ask follow-ups. Katie Simpson hasn't been a bad fill-in. That is true. That's true. I agree. Katie Simpson did very well as a fill-in as well. All right, kids and cubs. As I mentioned, we love it when you share our content. Now, if you would like us to help you because you are on the go and busy and got stuff to do, well, hey, you don't need to worry at all because we have got a method for you to remain informed while you are out taking on the day, thanks to the generous contribution of the Ray Girl. She sponsors our pod page, and the pod page is where you can find the audio cast of our show. If you scan this QR code, it will bring you right there. And if you're listening, podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, zip right into your favorite podcast feed. And then we are portable. You just put us in your ears, and take us with you. And that way you can multitask, do both, remain an engaged and informed citizen while being an engaged and informed citizen, or taking care of your family, or all the other ways that you make the world better every day, ways big and small. And we thank you for that. Now, if you would like to help us, Kids and Cubs, you can do that by grabbing your e-surfboard and making your way down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where Kits, Cassie, and Elaine are beckoning you to smash with our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Give them a click. And when you do that, that helps us with the algorithm. And it also brings us a little bit of joy because it's letting us know that our content resonates with you. Thank you so much, Kits and Cubs, for all of that. We really appreciate it. And if you would like to help us in other ways, Kits and Cub, as we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, and you have been very generous with us, and we are very grateful for it. And we hope that that generosity continues by making a contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Such a terrible thing, that dry beaver. So if you would like to help us with that, because you think we deliver some good content and we give you some good information and analysis, and you would like to encourage us to do more, a couple of coins in our tip jar really makes our day. Buy your favorite beaver a cup of hot chocolate, or your favorite grizzly a mug of dark and bitter coffee. And that definitely, well, it gives us happy for the rest of the day. Why not make a beaver happy? Or a grizzly happy? So you could do that by scanning the QR code that's just appeared, or going to our coffee page, coffeeko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And that's where you can make your contribution. We thank you so very much. And if you are buying Canadian Kits and Cubs, we like to encourage that too. And there's a way that you can donate that way by sending a bank transfer to truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. And when you do that, it's win-win-win, because your transaction is entirely Canadian. That's a win. You avoid going through the US CE tech bros, who take a cut of your contribution and then repackage it and offer it to Donald Trump, who wants to break us so that he can own us as tribute. Win. And that means that we get 100% of your donation rather than a percentage of it. Win. So win, win, win. That's how we do it. So if you are able to do that, we really thank you. And we are very grateful to you. Now, Kits and Cubs, if you're not able to contribute financially, as we say on the show, the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that do matter the most to us. And we thank you so very much. And that same email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, is where you can write to us with story ideas, constructive criticism, compliments, flattery. We love those. Guest suggestions, or suggestions of people you may know, or let them know about our email address, actually, so that they can write to us, people that you may know that have a small home-based business or community events going on and would like to advertise to a broader audience and have a smaller budget that we can accommodate, because we like to help. So all of that, Kits and Cubs, you can do and inform us with the email address truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. And if you want to write to us via our socials, @TrueEager, at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, as well as on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, which is our original home, or if you're listening on YouTube, either live with the best damn fam in all of podcasting, or at your own time, right down here in the comment section. Just leave us a little something. We read absolutely everything you send us, even though we're not able to necessarily answer everyone. And everything that you send us, either financial or in word, gets put back into the show to improve it, because this is your show too, Kids and Cubs. All right. Because democracy is something that you do, Kids and Cubs, we have a by-election provincial in Spruce Woods, Manitoba on I think it is, yes. I was going to say October, August 26th. Wow, I really want to speed forward ahead there. So yes, August 26th is the by-election. Advanced polling is closed in terms of the various stations, but you can still vote in advance at the main polling return station, and that's open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that will be at the Spruce Woods local election office in the Coral Center, located at 811 8th Street North in Brandon. So you can do that today and up until the 25th. And then on the 26th will be voting day. Voting will be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. there. So again, find out about your candidates, make a plan to vote, bring people with you, all of that good stuff. And we look forward to reporting the results to you near the end of the month. Also, if you are in Alberta, Kits and Cubs, remember that Elections Alberta has approved a referendum question on Alberta remaining part of Canada, but now organizers must collect just under 294,000 signatures and probably more in order to prevent Danielle Smith from attempting any shenanigans, so that the question can be moved to an actual ballot. And to do that, you need to go to www.forever-canadian.ca if you are an Albertan, to either volunteer, donate, become an official canvasser, or pledge to sign the petition or pledge to make a donation when the opportunity does come your way. So again, Kits and Cubs, www.forever-canadian.ca. And I'm going to put that up on the screen for you. If you happen to be living in Alberta, please do your duty, line up, show that you are very passionate about Alberta remaining in Canada and Canada remaining together. And I thank you so very much for all of your efforts and the time that you will take to do that. Remember that this is something you have to show up in person to do, or that a canvasser has to come to you to do, because those signatures need to be witnessed. It cannot be done online. So you do have to get up and put your body in the game and do a little democracy if you want this question to get on the ballot. Thank you for all of your efforts, everything that you do every day to keep Canada a wonderful place. Kits and Cubs, words of wisdom for you. You know what? Yesterday I was full of wisdom. Today, not so much. But here's a basic point of wisdom. If somebody's going to ask you a question about Nazi salutes, have a little more passion and fervor in your answer than Pierre did. I'm pretty sure that the odds that you're going to be asked a question about Nazi salutes are probably going to be very slim, probably to none. But if ever it should happen, you condemn that shit. Or as Mr. Grizzly would say, be kind to everyone except Nazis. Punch them. All right. Kids and Cubs, it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, if I may, as your actual humble servant, see what I did there, beg your indulgence and audience participation. And could I ask you, please, to say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, I hear you. Even right you, the back there in the back row, you there? I heard you. I heard you. And I oblige. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, before we go, a little news about Canadians who are making us proud. Right now, the qualifications for the US Open of tennis are on, the final Grand Slam of the year. Unfortunately, the two Canadian men who were in the qualification draw, Alexis Galarneau and Liam Draxel, lost their first round matches and have been eliminated. So there will be no additional men joining the main draw from Canada, other than those who have already qualified. And for the women, Carson Branstein and Marina Stakusic lost their first round matches, but Carol Zhao, Rebecca Marino, and oh my God, the third name escaped me off the top of my head. That is terrible. Won their first round matches. I'm sure that will come. And Cadence Brace, there we go, won their first round matches, and they are now playing in the second round. They were supposed to play yesterday, but it got rained out. So the matches are scheduled to start around 3 p.m. today. Hopefully, some of them will make the third and final round. Rebecca Marino is in a good position at the moment. She is the highest ranked player in her section. Carol Zhao and Cadence Brace have a bit of a tougher row to hoe, but it is definitely within their capabilities if they get a good run going. So fingers crossed, kids and cubs. If Carol Zhao makes it to the main draw, it will be her second Grand Slam after qualifying for Wimbledon. I think it is about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, I should say. And for Cadence Brace, it would be her first ever. She's another in that long list of up and coming Canadian players on the women's side who are looking to break through into the main tour instead of the lower level challenger stuff. So we are sending all our best wishes for some good matches, and hopefully tomorrow I will have more news about them having made us even more proud than they already have. Until then, kids and cubs, amour et bisous. And we will see you tomorrow. I apologize for so much Pierre content. Tomorrow I will have something else. And unless he does something spectacularly terrible, I'm promising you a Pierre-free show. So you've done your duty. You've been patient. I commend your endurance, and I will not make you have to go through this tomorrow. Okay? All right, kids and cubs, have a wonderful day. And like magic, I am gone.